to the Unboxed broadcast. Today, Dr. Davis and I will discuss managing leadership burnout. We're ready to dive in. We're excited you're here. So stick around as we help you unbox the power and potential of your leadership.
I'm Dr. Robert Davis, family life educator and leadership coach. This is my co-host, R.P. Soriano. Soriano attended Johns Hopkins Carey Business School, worked in the financial industry, and was an international consultant before partnering with me to launch UnBoxed to Lead. Me? Well, I worked for over 20 years as a senior pastor and a community organizer. Then I retired and started a leaders peer support community called UnBoxed to Lead. Soriano and I have been friends since the early 90s, and with our varied experiences and expertise, we help leaders reach the next level in their leadership. So join us for the next few moments as we unbox the power and the potential of your relationships, your leadership, and your life.
Welcome back, one and all, wherever in the world you may be. I'm RP Soriano, and with me once again is Dr. Robert Davis, family and workplace relationship expert, and author of Seasoned with Grace, God's Recipe for Healthy Family Communication, and the 12 Steps to Becoming an Unboxed Leader. How are you this week, my friend?
Man, I am doing really well. Thank you for asking. I'm excited. We got a lot going on, and I'm ready to dive into it.
All right, let's do that. I just want to remind everyone to like, share, and subscribe to the broadcast. Also, be sure to follow all of our social pages. Visit our blog page at www.unboxedtolead.com to access past episodes of our broadcasts and webinars. And you can also sign up for our newsletter so you never miss out on the latest content or specials that we offer for our services. I also want to remind everyone, a little public service announcement here, Robert, to visit our website to learn more about a special program that we have. It's called the BIPOC Executive Directors Leaders Peer Support Community Scholarship. So thanks to our partners and friends, we have been able to set aside 20 scholarships and make those available for BIPOC executive directors of nonprofits and or community organizations to be a part of this program. The scholarship covers the full cost of the Leaders Peer Support Community program. And essentially, the program is designed to create a sense of equity, to help BIPOC leaders manage very unique challenges that they face and their organizations face. The program is, again, like I said, it seeks to build equity through learning, coaching, support, and growth. And it gives BIPOC leaders access to resources that they might otherwise not have access to. So if you're a BIPOC leader of a nonprofit or community organization, or you know someone who is, please share or visit the website, www.unboxedtolead.com, where you can learn more and you can apply to the scholarship. Also, if you're an organization that would like to sponsor this program and make more scholarships available to BIPOC leaders, just send us an email at scholarship@unboxedtolead.com. That's scholarship@unboxedtolead.com, or send us a message through one of our social media channels. So last broadcast, Robert, our topic was why every leader should investigate their family history. And we talked about why this is important and the benefits to leadership. And we did some theory. We talked about how to kind of conduct an investigation into your family history. And then we did a kind of a practical application where you strapped me into the hot seat and turned on the juice and fried me pretty good with some good questions. Basically, what you did was you took me through kind of an abbreviated experience of what a member would receive when they join the Unboxed to Lead, or what they would experience when they join the Unboxed to Lead Leaders Peer Support Community. So, man, I have to say I was very enriched by that experience and really felt committed to continuing that journey and that process of better understanding my family history, because I think we started to crack open Pandora's box a little bit, and I really felt, like I said, I just felt enriched by the process, and wanted to say thank you for that, actually, for giving me that opportunity to be a guinea pig in that.
And I appreciate that so much. One of my experiences has been with every leader that we've worked with has been that the ones who feel somewhat intimidated about going into their family, wondering, oh man, am I gonna, is this some kind of therapy session? Well, I'm not a licensed therapist, so we don't do therapy. But what I have discovered is that everyone who goes through and asks those questions actually leaves very excited. Our families are wonderful. They're awesome. They're unique, and they show us so much about ourselves that we end up leaving. Even individuals who come from what some would consider dysfunctional families actually are surprised at how resilient their families are. The more that they do research and study them, and how much it impacts and builds up their leadership. So I'm thankful that you went on that journey with us.
Yeah, man, really, really, really appreciate it. I'm excited to kind of move forward in that process.
Yeah.
I've lived half my life without understanding half my life, so I'd like to start. I'd like to start diving into that, getting a better understanding. I think that would help just a little bit.
Sure enough. Sure enough.
All right, so let's dive into our topic today, and it's about managing leadership burnout. We'll talk about what that is, what it looks like, what's at the core of burnout, how workplace relationships contribute to burnout, and finally, we'll go through some steps on how we can prevent it. So let me just ask the question plainly and get right into it.
Okay.
Robert, why do leaders burn out?
All right. So, you and I are both talkers. So I've actually taken some notes. So when you see me looking down, you know that I'm looking at my notes because I'm going to be succinct today. You are going to be proud of me, Raphael, and the listeners are going to be proud of me as well. So here we go.
Relieved or proud?
Both. Both. Right. Probably more relieved than anything. Right. Most leaders, when we talk about burnout, and some of this that I'm sharing with you comes from a tremendous book that I've talked about before, Extraordinary Leadership. But most leaders, and I've discovered, especially nonprofit leaders, enter into nonprofit leadership excited, enthusiastic, well-equipped, and ready to fulfill their call. Before I came on this call here, I was at a city council meeting. I was presenting about homeless sweeps and trying to encourage the city not to do homeless sweeps when the weather drops below 32 degrees. Don't take people's property, their sleeping bags and stuff, and throw it in the trash. And the reason I bring this up is because there are a lot of other organizations who were there at City Council presenting on the same subject, encouraging. And people enter into that kind of work, whether it is with our unhoused community, whether it's working with LGBTQ youth, whether it is, helping people who are re-entering from a community from incarceration, or whatever it may be. You enter into this work, you're excited, you see an opportunity to really make an impact and to change the world. And they, and most of the executive directors and leaders that I have come in contact with are very equipped to fulfill their call. They can't wait. And they do pretty well at the managing the organization for a while. But sometime during their call, there is in executive leadership, they hit this wall. And I've experienced the wall, and I'll talk a little about my experience later on. They hit this wall, they lose their passion, not for what they're doing to improve community or the lives of the people that they serve, but they lose this passion to be leaders of an organization. I want to make sure I clarify that. They this passion, the steam goes out, again, not to help people who are re-entering from incarceration or to help runaway kids or whatever it may be, but it's the burnout from actually running organizations. And many are tempted to give it up at this point. And those who stick around, unfortunately, often become less effective. They become more bureaucratic and all those other things. And so what I have discovered and what my experience tells me is that most leaders have been ill prepared for their encounter with the emotional side of the organization. I mean, they know how to assess and to provide services for our unhoused communities. They know how to assess and to provide services for people who are re-entering for a community from incarceration or whatever it may be. I mean, there's a myriad of things, or how to help people who are dealing with addictions or whatever it may be. The challenge is working with the emotional component that comes along with their team, their board, their direct reports, their volunteers, HR, etc. And the irony is that these other team members are similarly ill prepared. So the leader has no idea how to coach them through these difficulties. And many times leaders have no one that they can turn to help them with their own struggle. So the leader can't help the team, and the leader is wondering who's going to help me to manage the emotional side of relationships. And this causes, it has the highest impact on leaders burnout than anything else.
Okay, so wait a second. So it's not the work. I think that's what I hear you're saying. It's really not the work. I think we've all been led to believe in our leadership that it's the work, it's the long hours, it's the demand on our time, and all of this kind of stuff that causes burnout. But it sounds like you're saying that the core of burnout is our inability or our lack of know-how when it comes to managing relationships.
Yeah. So it's
So
not.
let me ask this. So does this inability to manage relationship, does it make work harder? Does it make the work that you like you said earlier? You said you know how to do these things. You know how to do the work, but the inability to manage a relationship, does that add more pressure to the work, or do we end up just or do we end up diving into work to avoid those relationships, or is it a combination of both, or none of that?
No, it's a combination of both. And what ends up happening is it's not the work that we signed up for to help people, to change the world, to make an impact, that ends up causing us the greatest stress and the greatest burnout. It is managing the relationships around the work that causes the stress and the burnout. And I'll give you a classic example. We talk about moral injury that a lot of nurses and doctors and health professionals run into, this thing called moral injury, where they go to school to become a nurse. Because what they want to do is they want to work in an emergency room. They want, man, the kids who swallow a quarter, or the old lady who falls down the steps. They want to, work with that person and be in the emergency room and help them. They want to work with people who are struggling with cancer, in the oncology or whatever it may be. And then what they end up discovering, especially doctors, is that it's the relationship with the insurance company, the relationship with their physicians group, the relationship with all these other things that really prevents them from doing what they want to do, because they're spending so much time managing the other stuff. And this is what causes moral injury. This is one of the things when you put it in other ventures or other professions that causes a large level of burnout. It's the inability to really understand and to manage effectively relationships that causes the stress. People love what they love, and they never stop loving it. They never stop loving helping children, helping people with addiction issues, or helping the unhoused. It is all the other stuff, trying to work with legislators, trying to work with city officials, trying to work with other community organizations group, trying to build up their team, that just crushes people and takes the wind out of their sails.
Man, I mean, that just resonates as being so true. And I'm wondering if there is also a layer of guilt added on to that, because you said people love doing what they do, and they have this conviction that what they're doing is the right thing, but then you experience the burnout because you're not able to. You're just dealing with challenges within your team, challenges outside about. And I'm wondering, then there must be this layer of feeling awful that you can't push through that, but you really don't understand. You really just don't clearly understand what the problem is.
Yeah. What the problem is, and why is it that I can't seem to and you start questioning your leadership. Why can't I seem to mesh with these people? And why is it that we can't seem to get any traction? And why is it that change is so difficult, and I'm getting such pushback, and there's so much clicks and sabotage and all this stuff that is going on, man, and it just drives the leader into the ground.
Can you talk a little bit about that relationship? Let's kind of transition in here, and kind of maybe laser focus this, and talk specifically about relationship dynamics and the leaders, how the leader, what is the challenge here with the relationship dynamic between a leader and their team, or an individual, or uh, the bureaucracy, or whatever the case may be. What do you see as kind of the silver bullet that kills the werewolf, if you will, in this instance for the leader with respect to relationship dynamics?
Yeah, the silver bullet is really being intentional about two things. Number one, being intentional about gaining a deeper understanding about how relationships work, which we refer to as relationship systems.
Hmm.
Gaining a deeper understanding of relationship systems. And number two, being intentional about managing how I show up and function in relationships. And if I can just do something here, I want to share an example from my own life.
Okay.
When I started pastoring, I loved starting churches. Within 3 years, I had the ability to raise up two congregations. And over my pastoral time, I've had the opportunity of raising up four congregations. Two were Spanish speaking, two English speaking. And I just loved it. I love that idea of going out and starting up an entire new congregation from scratch. And I was given the opportunity to go to Charlotte, North Carolina, to raise up a congregation from scratch and to do some evangelism and community outreach, which is just something that I love. And so I had that passion to do that. I had the desire, I had the skill set to do it. But when I got to the church in Charlotte, and I want to make sure because people who know me will know what church I'm talking about, the church was not the problem. The problem was my skill set. The problem was my inability to understand how relationships work and my inability to focus and to manage myself in relationships. So when I got to the church, like most other organizations, like many, not most, like many other organizations you'll find, was divided into these factions and cliques. And there was a lot of infighting that was going on. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up aligning myself with the people who I thought were most committed to my mission of evangelism and outreach.
Mm.
And to maximize my effectiveness, I began to distance myself from the detractors because the argument is I don't have time to sit and argue and try to persuade people to do what they should already be doing. You know, if we're born again Christian, we should be telling the world about the love of Jesus, and we should be trying to tell people and to help people in the community to live better lives and to come to a deeper knowledge of him. And so why am I sitting around wasting my time? That's how I saw it, wasting my time trying to convince people to do what they should already be doing. And so then I began to alienate, and I'm, it's easy to see it in hindsight, but began to alienate a large segment of the congregation, and siding, which only then perpetuated factions even more and pushback. And I didn't know how to manage myself when I was getting challenges and sabotage from the team. And so, man, I just became overwhelmed and so stressed out that I just was unable. There were a couple of times, man, that literally there were shouting matches that took place during the 11 o'clock worship service. If you can imagine that, it got so toxic and so hectic that we were actually having shouting matches during the 11 o'clock service with people, in leadership that just did not agree with where I was taking the church or whatever it may be. And so I never lost my passion for ministry. I just became burned out because I was unable to manage self or to understand what was going on. If I knew then what I knew now, man, it would have been a whole different scenario. People are just doing what people do. That's kind of what it boils down to. That was kind of like my experience. I'm always interested in hearing other people's kind of like, what has been your experience. What are examples that others have had that lead to burnout from relationship pressures?
Yeah, I mean, I think your story translates so well. There are people out there who probably cannot necessarily relate to a
Oh yeah.
pastoral experience or religious experience, but the construct is basically the same. a mission, a vision, and having to lead people through that and having to manage those challenging relationships and not being able to do it effectively. And so I think everyone in leadership can relate to that. And I think what I find troubling or concerning is how, as leaders, we can be so competent at administration. I mean, I went to school and earned an MBA, and this is what most of this was about. It was about how to do the work, how to be effective, how to lead. But uh, it's all about administration. It's all about vision casting, and it's all about the other aspects of leadership, right? The things that tend to be applauded, but I guess we internalize so many of the relationship challenges, and we don't really just don't know what to do. Why do you believe that is? Why is there so much emphasis? Why do we seem to be upside down in our approach to leadership?
And I think it's because we value and we reward accomplishments, tangible, visible, measurable accomplishments. And so an accomplishment is, our sales went up by 18% over the last quarter. You can measure that. It's a lot more difficult to measure whether or not you are connecting with your team. How do you measure them? We do have some things that we use at Unbox. I'll talk about that later. But how do you really measure? How do you measure whether or not you are showing up as a calmer, less anxious leader and stuff? So the pressure is not on being a leader who is more authentic. The pressure is to be a leader who gets it done, who
Mm.
takes care of business, like Kramer. When they asked him, "What do you do at your job all day?" He says, "Man, I'm taking care of business." that's that's, that's kind of where it is, man.
Right. So, sorry, man, the Kramer reference. You know how both of us are. We have the attention spans of, I mean, of dust mites. So once you mention a show like that, I have left this show, and now all I can see is episode and episode and episode of Seinfeld and Kramer. So let me try to pull myself back
Come
here.
on, man. Come on back.
Yeah, let me try to come on back. The that that sense of rewarding measurable results. I'm assuming that that's also the case. A lot of times we get results no matter what we have to burn down, no matter who we have to injure, no matter who we have to upset. I think I kind of got that a little bit from what your experience was at the church in Charlotte, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to run this up the middle, and I don't care who is in the way. I'm going to make this happen. And I think that we can see instances either in our own leadership or examples of other leaders where they have accomplished, they've met the goals, and then not soon thereafter, the plane starts to lose altitude. And you wonder, well, things were going so good, what happened? All of a sudden you have people leaving, you have knowledge walking out the door, you have people who have been injured but who have sworn revenge once they once they lick their wounds and they healed. This isn't the end. This isn't the last you'll hear of me, Robert Davis. That kind of thing, right? That seems to be a part of it. That yes, we applaud leaders for just muscling through, but what is the consequence of that if we haven't effectively managed the relationships?
Yeah. Is that the question you're asking me, or was that a
Yeah,
statement?
that's the question. That's kind of the question I'm asking. I'm making a comment and sort of, but it is more of a question
Well,
framed as a comment.
yeah. So it's the consequence is that you do not create a healthy workplace culture. The ultimate goal of a leader is to create a healthy culture. Productivity comes through that. So you want to create a healthy culture, and a healthy culture is determined by how mature the least mature person is within the group, and the leader's ability to conduct themselves in such a way that the least mature is acting mature. rather than doing just the opposite, accommodating the least mature, it's pulling up the least mature. And so that's when we talk about having a healthy workplace culture where it's open and honest and people can share, where ideas are encouraged and thoughts and pushback and there's space for thinking and people can work through their various emotional and emotions and feelings and can talk about relationship challenges and difficulties in a constructive way. That's a healthy workplace culture. It's not just a place where everybody's happy and running around clapping and sitting on, Euro designed chairs and stuff and able to come to work with flip-flops on. It's also about how mature the team is because the leader has exhibited so much maturity within how they manage and interact in relationships.
That statement that you just made me feel, I almost felt like I started to levitate out of my seat. And it was, well, that brings us to the end of our show today. Thank you once again, Dr. Davis, for your insight and expertise. The Unboxed broadcast is produced by Bobby Davis Jr., graphic and video design provided by Damon Mace, and marketing and promotion by John Sedano. Remember to visit our website at www.unboxedtolead.com. For Dr. Robert Davis, I'm RP Soriano, and we look forward to seeing you at the next broadcast of Unboxed as we help you unbox the power and potential of your leadership. Be well.
UnBoxed provides a full-service leaders peer support community that helps high-level leaders become more authentic leaders who build healthy workplace cultures and reach their personal life goals. To learn more and discover how we can take your leadership and your life to the next level, please visit our website at unboxedtolead.com. That's unboxed, lead.com. Again, that's unboxed,